6:42, good morning. Let's have a look at some of the front pages for you. The Times highlights an outcry over the Home Office approving the suspected attacker in that chemical corrosive substance attack, approving that asylum request.
And the Daily Telegraph says that teenage killer Scarlett Jenkinson's lust for fame led her to kill Brianna Ghey.
The Mail says that Eddie Ratcliffe killed Brianna out of hate for trans people, while Scarlett Jenkinson did it for fun.
The Sun goes completely different there and reveals a rail union boss's affair with a train driver.
Well, this keeps it in the industry. The Eye has rising pressure on the Chancellor to cut income tax to curb the cost of living.
Well, joining us to make some sense of all of that, writer and columnist Emma Wolfe and showbiz reporter Stephanie Tecci. Good morning to you both.
Morning, guys.
Emma, it seems silly to ask you the question that the Times is asking. Is our asylum system broken?
I think this acid attack, or alkaline attack, sorry, this corrosive attack from Abdul Shakur Yazidi on Wednesday on this mother and two young...
Allegedly, yeah, we have to say alleged.
Yeah. I think it's really shone a light. What's come out now about this man, about his background, the fact that he applied for asylum twice and was turned down. He was approved on the third time, apparently because of converting to Christianity and on the sort of character reference, a say-so of a priest. He was also described by neighbours as a good Muslim, so whether he's, you know, this is all getting very weird. He was actually convicted, 2 years after he arrived in this country, in 2016, he was convicted of a sex attack and of exposure. So he was actually on the sex crimes register for 10 years.
He wasn't jailed, he was given a suspended sentence on both counts.
On both counts. And the fact that he has been decided... This is not a man who arrived on a boat in the middle of the night and then went and then slipped off into the darkness. He has been on the Home Office, on their radar. There is clearly something broken about the asylum system. If someone who is on their radar for various different reasons can be... Just the surveillance, the monitoring has completely failed. Whether or not you agree with immigration, whatever you feel about that, a foreign criminal, and Rishi Sunak has said, of course we don't want foreign criminals in this country. I think we can all agree that foreign criminals have no place in this country, and yet this man was granted asylum and is now on the loose.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't know that he was a criminal before he got here. But nevertheless, it was rejected, therefore he should have been deported.
He should have been deported on the first...
When he reapplied, why didn't they say, we've already had this rejected, let's deport you? But the fact that it was... He then, after the second rejection, then committed a crime in the UK, put on the sex offenders register, and was then accepted.
On the say-so of converting to Christianity, which, I'm sorry, anybody can say that, anybody can do that, anybody knows a priest or someone who will vouch for you. And I don't see why, to be fair, I don't think there's much to be fair about it. This is a man who should have been deported at the first time. That, look, everybody is entitled to their say, and if they come here and they're applying for asylum, of course we give them a fair hearing. But this nonsense that we're drifting into about, oh, and now Turkey's not a safe country, this is not safe. It's not our problem what is a safe country or not. We should be able, as Britain, we should be able to enforce our own laws.
I think it's 3 times too much, and I think it begs to question how many Abduls are in this country at the moment, because it only takes to these big situations to happen when everyone starts realising, oh, God, we've had someone so violent living in this country, and there's so many of them, and it's always waiting for a disaster to happen in that case. But just to give a bit of balance, because when these situations do happen, then people start looking at asylum seekers like they're all violent, and that is not the case. We cannot tarnish all of them with one brush.
No, but there should be a workable system.
But there needs to be more stringent testing when it comes to who we're allowing to live in this country.
And on Wednesday evening, they said, oh, the police said, well, you know, it's really only a matter of hours, we'll be catching him. No, he's on the loose. He's on the loose on the Northern Line at King's Cross, you know, 2 minutes from my house. I don't want people like this going rogue and just... It's very, very easy to disappear into, you know, friends' house.
I hate sounding pessimistic always when we're talking about this stuff, but the system is broken. It's gone too far now. How do we even repair it, you know? It will take too many decades.
I just do not understand how you can appear before a court convicted of a crime, a sex crime, when you are at that stage a failed asylum seeker, and they've got you.
Yeah.
Why was he not taken and deported?
But isn't this where my point about British laws not being able to be enforced because of things like the ECHR? We are not able just to say to people, OK, we've given you a fair hearing, now it's, you know, no means no, and now you leave. I mean, a lot of people now, I won't say blood on their hands, but a lot of people now need to explain why there is a woman. OK, fortunately, the two daughters, their injuries are not said to be life-changing. Yeah. But there is a woman who is very badly injured, who have been through a very frightening attack. And there is a man on the loose.
And she has life-changing injuries.
Life-changing injuries. That's real. It's not about
talking of things horrific, Stephanie, Brianna Jai, her killers have been jailed for life.
Yeah, and rightly so.
But what we have learned and what we are learning about them...
It's not life, it's 22 years.
Well, minimum. That's
Yeah.
minimum. It's horrific what's come out about all this.
It's sadistic, and I'm so glad that their faces and names have been unveiled, because it's the face of evil. Both of them have got the faces of evil. And I think it's also a message to other young people, because I think they're so young that I don't think they actually comprehended what they were doing, you know? And in that sense, you think to yourself that how do they live with themselves now? And they showed no remorse at all through this whole case. And it begs to question about transphobia, because that is what Eddie's motive was here. And I think when we talk about transgenderism in this country, there's always this sense of hate that comes with it. And it's led to someone like Eddie to do these kind of actions. And then also, when you look at Scarlett now, you think, how did her family not notice all these changes with her? Obviously, I don't want to say they're at fault here, but it begs to question, parents do need to be looking at their children and seeing if there are these changes of attitude. Maybe they could have picked up this.
She was looking at things from the dark web.
Yeah.
She was watching torture videos.
Yeah, and she was only 15.
Yeah.
How does a kid of 15 even get on the dark web? For heaven's sake.
Brianna's parents have been quite almost forgiven in all this situation, you know, not wanting their family to be, the other side's family to be named.
And really not wanting them to suffer.
Yeah.
Any more than they have to, which is remarkable.
The father said, Brianna's father has been saying he didn't want them to have an identity. He didn't see why they should be named, because it's not about them. And look, I don't even want to look at the screen. I don't even want to see their faces. It isn't about them. I don't want them to become these Hollywood, you know, Myra Hindley kind of types. And actually, it should be about Brianna, who's lost her life. When I say it's not life, I don't think it is life. They are now, what, 16, 17? They will be freed, probably, in their late 30s. They have their whole lives ahead of them, and Brianna's life is over now.
Well, yes, and look, there's a very valid point to that. They will only be released if they are deemed to be of no further threat, but they will still be, and I know people will not have any sympathy with this, but I have dealt with people in a similar situation. They come out on a life licence. They cannot just go about and live an ordinary life when they come out. They're on a life licence. They will be very tightly controlled with probation and all the rest of it, and weekly visits, curfews.
Stop Venables reoffending.
No, being given a new identity.
It doesn't guarantee that they won't reoffend, but it's not like just being free. It's not. They don't enjoy the freedoms
I'm not suggesting that, but they have.
I don't think people like that should ever step out of prison.
No, well,
they deserve to rot in prison and die in prison.
Well, there's a very real chance with these two. They could be in prison for the rest of their lives.
But you see, they're so young. You know, now that they're actually being jailed, they're actually going to think of their actions, and 20 years from now, they would be changed people.
They may be, they may not be. And what do we do with them in prison? It almost begs the question, what's the point of locking someone up for the whole of their lives? What is the actual point, at a cost of £60,000 approximately to the taxpayer a year? What are we doing?
As opposed
to I know, and I'm not in favour of the death penalty, but I'm just saying, it does beg that question. What's the point? Unless we are going to reform, rehabilitate, really change people.
But that is the point.
And I kind of go with that we could at this age, we could. But do they deserve that? It's such a difficult issue on every side.
Again, it's that changing of mind because they're so young, 16, 17. I don't think they were really thinking about their actions. You know, most teenagers
I think 15 is old enough to know better. And when you listen,
know better, but
when you listen to Jamie Bulger's mother, Denise Fergus, talking, and that was 30 years ago. When you listen to her and you see her, she did an interview yesterday. She was still welling up with tears, and that's 30 years on. It is a life sentence for Brianna's family.
Oh, it is.
For losing a child in that way.
But it's whether it's a bigger. That's then becomes a bigger discussion. Right? It's a criminal justice system meant to be about punishment and reform, or is it meant to be about vengeance?
I know.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing. And I know some of you will say, well, it's about vengeance.
Yeah, you never...
But you know, that's the debate which has to be had.
But you don't get vengeance once your child has been murdered.
No, you don't.
There's no vengeance whatsoever.
But that is why I think it's particularly interesting in cases like this, when Brianna's mother came out and she said she's got no sympathy for the killers. Yeah. But she is showing huge amounts of sympathy for their families. Now, that's an attitude which I think is remarkable, but should be applauded because she's showing a real sense of soul there.
And it is interesting as well, I mean, because today we've heard from the girl, Scarlett Jenkinson's mother, who has said that they released a statement saying, the last year has just, since our child was arrested, we have just been through horror. But we are not thinking about ourselves, we're thinking about Brianna's family. And I don't know, the dignity from that family. But you're right. How did they not know their daughter was on the dark web?
This is a bigger question about children, especially through the pandemic, being in their bedrooms, staring at screens. And you say, how do they get onto the dark web? It's probably, I mean, I wouldn't know, but it's not that hard. And lots of things, age, you know, identity checks are not being done online, and that's the other
14, 15, should you not be asking your child to show them your phone, to you know,
would you go through it? Would you know what you were looking for an onion router and all that sort of thing?
But the thing is, I think a lot of young people are living secret lives now, thanks to, you know, social media and all this access that they've got to online. And all these topics about, you know, being transgender, all these different things are uncomfortable conversations we don't have in society. All they see is on the front pages of a transgender being blasted, and it just creates all these thoughts in people's heads. And
Scarlett Jenkinson had been expelled from at least 2 schools, which is why she ended up at this school's special unit, which is how she got to know Brianna. She'd actually tried to poison a couple of other pupils. And they knew that the previous school had known this, and yet the school that had taken her on had not been told.
Yeah, I know. It's really,
I mean, it's just appalling, the whole story.
It is terrible.
But I don't...
It is just absolutely terrible. The whole thing is just such a shocking thing.
But I agree with Stephen about Brianna's mother just showing, and I think she was ready to forgive them, but they just showed no remorse. Imagine being that... Amazing. That is amazing to be able to even extend the thought of forgiveness towards 2 people who've done that.
Yeah. And
that's the only way we can go on, really.
There is a lesson for all of us in that, because I think we can be swept up in hate far too easily. Anyway, look, we need to leave there. We've only got through 2 stories, but 2 very big stories. Emma, Stephanie, thanks very much indeed.
Let's find out about the weather. Here's Alex Burkill.